Using jury questionnaires. I know many of you have had experience with them, and it's my goal someday that every courthouse in the land allows the use of them, because I think it is the best tool we have in the arsenal for jury selection, especially under the time pressures the courts are placing on us to really get things done efficiently. And so I want to take a few minutes to take you through how to maximize the use of a jury questionnaire. For those of you who haven't used one, how to argue to use one so that we have more and more opportunities to make better and better decisions. And here's one of the fundamental things that we can overcome by the use of a jury questionnaire. And I know you have seen this happen, and it may have happened to you, because it would be very understandable if it did. There you are on the day of jury selection, and you're interviewing the prospective panelists. And I don't know, in some courts you just get to look at 6. Sometimes the judge lets you talk to 10 before you have to exercise your challenges. Courts sometimes mix it up, 6, and they let you interview 6, whatever. But there you are, let's say, and you have gone through carefully, conscientiously, with enthusiasm, your inquiry with juror number 1. Right? You get A to Z. You get good information. You know about her and her family and her previous occupations, occupations of extended family members. Great. Great. And that took, 15, 20 minutes, whatever, to do that. Maybe a little longer, I don't know, 15 minutes. And then you go on to juror number 2, and you certainly try to maintain that same enthusiasm, and you try to be sure you get every single question. But there's this curve, right? Then by the time you're at juror number 6, sometimes you're asking those summary questions like, Mr. Anderson, have you heard all the questions I asked the other jurors? Is there anything you want to say? I mean, you're exhausted, they're exhausted. It's a lot, and the bad news is that you're not even close to a jury yet, because there's 4 challenges, so there's 4 more people, and there's still this whole thing to go. And so we start getting sloppy with the information. We're pushing everybody's limits, including our own. With a jury questionnaire, we get a nice, solid block of information that's the same across every single juror. So the jury that actually winds up sitting, which is somewhere in the cheap seats, at least half of it, if people are exercising their peremptory challenges, we know just as much about them as we know about the first 6 that got in the box. So they give us good information. They give us a chance to ask the question, not only all of the questions, so our inventory is complete, but they give us an opportunity to ask questions that might be a little bit tough to ask in open court, right? Suppose you're dealing with a case that is going to have psychiatric or psychological injury claimed by the plaintiff, and so there's going to be testimony about psychiatric counseling or therapy or something, and you want to know, is someone opposed to that? Do they think it's a worthless exercise, or do they believe in psychiatric counseling or psychiatric treatment? What do? You want to be up there asking, I'm sorry, have you ever been to a shrink, Mr. Johnson? And have you ever been on medication for depression? Or, maybe some issues involve in employment cases. Often we have plaintiffs who have declared bankruptcy or have had financial disaster, and we want to know from prospective jurors, have you ever had a financial disaster? Have you ever declared bankruptcy? You ever been fired? Or that kind of thing. Those are tough questions to ask and to put someone on the spot. On the jury questionnaire, we get to ask those things, and often we will see jurors answer questions and then say, see reverse. You go on to the back, and you just about get an autobiography often. You get so much information and so much good information. So it's very valuable to us. And it's also an opportunity for us to do a little pregame exercise. That is, and I'll talk about the logistics of how we're going to ask the court to let us proceed, but we get to score the questionnaires on our 2-track rating system, because on paper we can pretty much get a good idea if someone is likely to be a leader. We may miss a couple, because some people are stronger in person than they'll look on paper. But, we get a preview, and we certainly get a good inventory of the experiences and the attitudes, because we've asked about them. What we can do then is, if the court has agreed and given us the randomized list when we get the questionnaires back, is we can decide, gee, if I exercise my challenge on the 3rd juror, then that's going to bring in the seventh person, and we know who that is. Now what does that look like? Oh, you know, I've challenged a 1-5, but oh, God, I've gotten a 1-5 in their place. Let's see. Let me look. And so you get a chance before the actual split-second decisions to try it out a little bit. Depends upon the timing and how it works. But let's talk about some of the logistics. Why do we want to use it? We get more meaningful information and more useful information across all the jurors. Jurors are more candid about themselves on paper. As we talked about, it's awkward, it's hard, it's embarrassing up there. People aren't good speaking publicly, but some people are great. They can write it down. And what we have seen on jury questionnaires are remarkably candid responses to questions that I know otherwise people would have probably tried to dodge the bullet and tried to, downplay. Remarkably candid. Jurors also have time to provide thoughtful answers. That situation where we put them on the spot, they don't remember, oh, I had forgotten about the time that I lost my job when I was, 25, or I forgot about that accident that we had, or, that information, they get to page 3, and then they go, oh, that's right. Now I remember that. They can flip back to page 1 and fill that in for you. So you get more complete information. And voir dire can be expedited if it's done well.